Daf Yomi, Tractate Bava, Batra, page 20b, top of the page with the words Deles Be Shura. The Gemara answers, this is referring to a case where the shard does not have the sufficient measure of ritual impurity and is therefore considered insignificant. As we learned in the Mishnah in Shabbat 82a, one who carries a shard of earthenware on Shabbat is liable only if it is equivalent to in size to that which is used to place between a pillar and another when they are piled on the ground to strengthen the pillars. Kli Cheres, the Brisa teaches, an earthenware vessel reduces the dimensions of a window. The Gemara challenges, but it is fit for one to use, therefore it is likely to be removed from the window. The Gemara answers, this is referring to a case where the earthenware is dirty. The Gemara challenges, even so, it is fit for a bloodletter to collect the blood. It would not matter to him if the earthenware were dirty. The Gemara answers, it is referring to a case where it is perforated and therefore unfit for that use. Sofer Torah Chazi Lemikra Bavaloi V'hui Be'ena Geniza. The Batra teaches a Torah scroll reduces the dimensions of a window. The Gemara challenges, but it is fit for reading, therefore it might be removed. The Gemara answers, this is referring to a Torah scroll that is worn out and unfit for reading. The Gemara challenges, but one is required to place the Torah scroll in a repository for unusable sacred books. Therefore, he will certainly remove it to be stored away. The Gemara answers, this is referring to one who determines that its repository will be there. In other words, it was placed in the window with the intent of storing it there in its worn out state. With regard to the halacha of the Batra referring to salt, the Gemara cites that which Rav says, one can construct a barrier to delineate a private domain on Shabbat, or to block the spreading of ritual impurity with anything except for salt and fat, as salt crumbles and fat melts in the heat. And Shmuel says even salt can be used as a barrier. Rav Papa said, and they do not disagree, as this ruling of Shmuel is referring to sodomite salt, which is like stone and can be used as a barrier, and that ruling of Rav is referring to Isterokanite salt, which is taken from the sea and is composed of grains. The Gemara adds, and now that Rava said, if a person makes two piles of salt at the opening to an alleyway and places a cross beam on top of them, so that the salt supports the cross beam and the cross beam supports the salt by weighing it down and compressing it, he can use this beam to render it permitted to carry in the alleyway on Shabbat. And one can say that even Isterokanite salt can be used as a barrier, and even so, Rav and Shmuel do not disagree. This ruling of Shmuel is referring to a case where there is a cross beam to weigh the salt down, and that ruling of Rava is referring to a case where there is no cross beam. Okay. The Mishnah teaches that one must distance a mill from a neighbor's wall by a distance of 3 handbreadths from the lower stone of the mill, which is 4 handbreadths from the upper stone of the mill. The Gemara asks, what is the reason that one must distance a mill from the property of his neighbor? It is due to the vibrations it causes. The Gemara asks, but isn't it taught in a Brita? And the measure for distancing a mill on a base is 3 handbreadths from the lower millstone, which is 4 handbreadths from the mouth, where the wheat was fed in. But there, what vibrations are there? Rather, the reason for the distancing is due to the noise generated by the mill. Wheat is 57. Yep. I said have a good wheat. And wheat's coming up here. It's a connection. Rather, the reason for distancing is due to noise driven. Okay. The Mishnah teaches. Okay, you know what? We'll do part 2. This is a pretty long daf, it seems like. We'll save this for part 2.